Hello everybody, Theorycrafter here. Today we are gonna review patch 11.5. That's my second patch review. I hope it goes better, and let's see what Riot has done. So starting off with the overview, this patch has a lot of buffs, a lot of nerfs, a lot of item changes, some small adjustments. It's gonna be a really interesting patch. And the first thing we see is an Azir nerf. So they reduce the damage of the soldiers by 10 on every level. Now, the reason that this has happened is because Azir has seen a lot of pro play. Like, he's a really safe pick in pro play. He can offer a lot of value in an organized play. I think he's a little overvalued, but it's another example of a champion that just gets nerfed because he sees so much pro play. It was the same with Atrox back then. Uh, it's the same with Akali. It's the same with all these champions that uh, need an organized play. So I don't know. We will see how that goes. But yeah, I think after this nerf, Azir is gonna be unplayable in solo queue. You really need to be a really good Azir player, and even then, you can invest your time on other champions and it will be way more worth than that. We continue with the Gragas nerf. They increase the cost of the Q. So basically before it was 60 to 80 and now it's 80 on every rank. The idea here is that they want to nerf Gragas in top lane. So Gragas is a really good flex pick right now in pro play. He sees playing in top lane, in jungle, in support. I mean, jungle, as fun as it may seem, it's not actually the most good role for him right now. I don't know. Like, Gragas top and Gragas support are actually really, really good. So that's not a nerf at all for jungle Gragas because of the fact that you have so much mana regen in the jungle, so that does not really affect you. For support, it's also a small nerf. Like, indirectly, Riot wants to nerf support Gragas. Uh, he's not doing that well in support. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not broken either. He's just a fine pink in the right team comps, and it's more about offering like offering a good flex pick in pro play. So basically, you can pick Gragas and be like, okay, I have Gragas top. And if they try to counter Gragas top, you just swap it to support and you pick a better pick in top lane. So that's the philosophy, right? I know that they say that they like players innovating new things, but to be honest, the last 1-2 years, that hasn't really been the case. Like, they nerf every single time a champion starts being playing on another role, it just gets nerfed again and again. There are a lot of examples of that. For example, you got Camille Zangi, you got Tamken's top lane, you got Senna ADC, which, by the way, Riot wants to nerf, but every time they try to buff um, Senna in support, they end up buffing Senna as an AD carry. Next up is Jax. He gets a small damage growth. Jax right now is not terrible, but he's on the weaker side. I like this buff. It's a pretty small buff. Like, I don't think it will affect him that much. I think it will just make him being more balanced. Like, and not when I say balanced, I don't mean less strong. I mean a little more strong. So I don't think this buff will make him broken or anything. But yeah. And here we have our boy Karma. Our girl, actually. So that's another buff for Karma. They had buff Karma 2 patches ago, they buff her again, they lower the cooldown of her Q, and Karma is another example that has get nerfs because she was played in another role than what Riot wants her to be played at, and that role was top lane. Even now, I've seen some people picking Karma in top lane, I've seen some Karma in the mid lane. I don't really see Karma as a support, and I know that you will hear some people saying that we are in an enchanter meta, right? With uh, moon stuff like Staff of Flowing Water and Moonstone Renewer. But that is so far from truth. And trust me, guys, that's not an enchanter meta. Right now, I think the best champions are in the support role, are heavy engaged tanks, things like the rell, uh, things like the thresh, and you see, sure, you see some enchanters, but they are far from what enchanter was supposed to be back when Riot had thought of that, right? It's not traditional enchanters like Sona or Zana or Nami. Or, like, I think right now the only enchanter that is doing well, like pure enchanter that is doing well, is Lulu, and that's when it's paired with very specific champions. And apart from Lulu, maybe Bard, but like Bard is not really an enchanter, right? I mean, he's an enchanter, but he's not. He has to offer more things like than pure enchanting. He has to offer uh, some damage, some nice roaming, which is the quickest thing of enchanters. And I know these items make these champions really good, and sure, especially lower elo, I think it's worth picking some enchanters, but right now, and that was the case most of the time, and after they nerfed a little bit the enchanting support items, it's again the same. Tank champions offer so much more playmaking potential. If anything, I think this buff will just make her being picked more in top lane and mid lane, and that is more about pro play. I don't think anything will change in solo queue. I love Karma. I think it's a really fun champion, and I hope we will see more of her. But I don't think she will be a pick that you can play in the near future. Kongmo. I totally agree with Kongmo. They buff the damage of W. Basically, W makes him uh, able to shred tanks. In my opinion, Kongmo is in a pretty weak state right now. It's another champion that really needed buff. And back then, like the season before, but like it's the same thing for many patches in a row. I don't think Kongmo is awful. And I think this buff will actually make him pretty good. It's a small increase in damage, and if you can see, like, it actually gets more and more as you max your W. I think this will make late game Kongmo pretty neat, but again, the problem with Kongmo, and I don't remember which pro player said that, but that made so much sense. The problem with AD carries is that they are not a role that they are designed to do damage. They are a role that is designed to do damage after certain circumstances. So what does that mean is that if you are safe, your team pills you, and you kite correctly, and all these things that you have to apply, you will deal a lot of damage. So AD carries, some AD carries can do that safer than others, or have more consistent DPS. And that's the thing with Senna. Like, Senna has more damage per auto and less autos. So she needs do less autos. So that means more damage. It's more consistent damage. It's the same with Jhin. And I think there are a lot of tanks threading, like Kai'Sa is pretty good right now. Sure, they nerfed Kai'Sa, but I don't think she's bad by any means. And I think, uh, and because of Kraken Slayer, you actually made a lot of AD carries have a good time against tanks. So before that, the only way to deal with tanks was things like Kai'Sa, Vayne, Kong Mo. Uh, right now, you have Kraken Slayer. So if you pick an ass, you can just pick Kraken Slayer here, build the Kraken Slayer, and do some nice true damage. So Kong Mo is still gonna be good against tanking champions uh, that stack a lot of health. Things like the Sion, which starts seeing a lot of play. Things like the Cho'Gath, which does not see a lot of play in pro play, but it sees a lot of play in solo queue. Sion gets popular in pro play too, but anyway. I think after this buff, we will actually see more Kong Mo. It's gonna be a good AD carry if you pair it, the traditional Lulu Kong Mo thing, perhaps with another enchanter or tank, or as an answer to Sion. So I think we will start seeing Kong Mo in pro play more. I don't think pro players will adapt really easily, and that's because you need to have a really specific team comp to actually make him work. But if you manage to make this team comp, Kong Mo can get really crazy. So I think Kong Mo is still not gonna be a good AD carry to climb in solo queue. It's gonna be a good AD carry, like it's gonna be a good pick if you like him. But if you just try to find a good pick to get some easy LP, Kong Mo is not one of these champions. And you just make your life hard. He has no self-build. He's way too immobile. And he needs way too much spell to actually work. But I think if you have the right support and perhaps another CC in your team, perhaps maybe a tank or a Karma top, like we said before, or Karma mid, or you have a Norn, something that can actually appeal for Kong Mo, I think he can actually work right now. And I expect more Kong Mo in pro play. Like 1% of target's maximum health may not sound like a lot, but when you have tanks with 3000 health, that's 30 damage per auto. 30 damage is like 1000 gold worth of stats. So they buff Kong Mo by 1000 gold, 1k gold. That's huge. I think Kong Mo is gonna be really good if you have the team comp right now. And I expect more teams trying to counter comps and or not let the other team take a comp that can counter Kong Mo. Master Yi. Basically, TLDR, base damage increase in E. The reason they're doing that is Master Yi has two playstyles right now. Duskblade and Kraken Slayer. Now, Yi is a farming jungler. Riot nerfed farming junglers last patch. Like, they nerfed wall jungle, but especially farming junglers. Master Yi was not using the power of farming junglers as good as other picks like Hecarim, Olaf, Udyr, this sort of stuff, this sort of champions. So they buff E and they want him to be played more as, the traditional Kraken Slayer, Ginsos. I'm gonna strength tanks. I have DPS type of build and not that much Duskblade. To be honest, I prefer that. I think Duskblade is so annoying. So freaking annoying. He queues and he kills someone, then gets invisible, and then like it makes it so much harder to focus him in team fights. Now about E, Udyr style, uh, that's true damage, if I'm not wrong. So that's even more damage. So it's 10 damage, right? In level 5. And you're gonna have you max C second after your Q. So it's around level 13, if I'm not wrong. Now it's 10 damage, that's 350 gold. But it's true damage. So it's actually worth way more. Like it can be worth double the amount, maybe more. Like it's 700 buff, gold buff. I think it's a pretty good buff. I think Master Yi will dominate. Okay, obviously I'm not gonna talk about stuff like pro play and stuff like that. We're never gonna see Master Yi in pro play in the near future, at least. Or high elo like Diamond Plus, but anything below Diamond, I think Master Yi is gonna be again the best pick in Silver, the best damage pick. Obviously, there are other picks that are also good like Ramos, but I think this buff will actually make him really strong. And he's gonna be a good, easy farming jungler. So, in my opinion, yeah, we will probably see more Master Yi. So, if you're in low elo and you ban Master Yi every game, continue doing that. Pyke, okay, Pyke is an adjustment. So, they want to nerf Pyke in mid lane, and they say, damping it down mid Pyke sustain in order to bring support Pyke up from the undertow. Yes, Pyke as a support is not played a lot. No, Pyke as a support is actually a really good pick. And I've seen it being picked not all the time, but sometimes in pro play, and by any means do I think it's a bad support. It's a really good support that can roam a lot, and it just happens that it's also a really good mid lane. So I don't think they really buffed Pyke support, because before you had 25 to 50% of damage taken converting to grey health. Now it's 10% of damage taken, uh, plus 25% lethality, increased to 35% of damage taken, plus 50% lethality when 2 or more enemies are nearby. Okay, actually the buff, Pyke in support. Your early game is definitely gonna be better, and that's, I don't know. Pyke actually is really good support. I know people are gonna say, but he's not picked a lot, and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty good support. In order to realize what 10% means, like 10% is for every 100 health, you're gonna get 9 HP. And I know that does not sound like a lot, but it actually is. It's really gonna help him early game. And I think Pyke is gonna be one of the best supports next patch. I think that's huge. We are not gonna see that much play because he needs a lot of time to be played correctly and a lot of games. But like, if you like Pyke, if you are thinking of maining Pyke, if you are actually maining Pyke, and you're gonna have such a fun time, and you're really gonna be able to counter the bulk of range matchups, which was the difficulty of Pyke. I mean, not really, but you get my point. It's just a really nice buff. And it does not nerf late game, because you're gonna have like 40 lethality, that's 20% extra, so that's 55, and before it was 50. And it's not even with levels. You don't need to be level 18 to have that much. You just need to have 2 items, which in solo queue again happens way more earlier. And because of Pyke, you get you get more gold than a normal support. So they nerf early game. This buff early game, they buff mid game, they buff late game, they buff everything. Uh, and even mid lane Pike actually is fine later on. He's gonna have less sustain. I think it's still gonna get one tricked in mid lane, but yeah. Kiana. Finally, a buff to Kiana. I have no idea why they didn't. Like, we didn't see any Kiana at all. Like, not in solo queue, not in pro play. And at least in pro play, I think she's one of the few assassins that can actually offer some utility, right? She has a slow. Actually, she has a stun with her Q if she takes the eyes. Has some invisibility, she has execution damage, she has a nice stun. She has utility, and that's something most assassins do not have. And if any assassin that is playing on mid has to have some play in competitive, I think Yana is the one. Like, she does not offer more damage. Uh, she does not offer more damage than is said or a talon, and I don't know. She relies like exactly right says. She relies way too much on roams. So they buffed her W damage. That's awesome. Like W is an auto attack. It's gonna make farming easier. I think. And plus they increase the damage of ultimate by 30 on second rank and 60 on third rank. Um, that's not crazy. Uh, I think this 30 damage can actually help here somewhat in mid games because sure you see 30 damage, but you can stun 3, 4 people. So a good ultimate like that's 30 times 3, that's 90 extra damage, or 180, like let's say 200 damage in late game as an increase. But I think the biggest change is here W. Maybe we are gonna see W getting maxed uh, earlier. They also increase the AP ratio of Kiana's W. That's actually kind of weird. Let me see. Um, does it has another AP ratio? No, apart from her passive, I don't see any universe that anyone is gonna take AP on Kiana. Maybe. I think Kiana AP is gonna be more fun now. I don't know. Maybe maybe I could see Kiana being played as an AP champion, like with Nassertooth. Like Nassertooth plus Lead Spain, and maybe I don't know. I wanna try. If you want to see an AP Kiana, write it down in the comments. I think I'm gonna try to play some AP Kiana. I'm not really a mid laner, I'm a support player, but I don't know, this could be fun. But yeah, the actual change that we care about is the base increase in her damage. Uh, it's actually gonna make CSing easier, which is the most important thing, in my opinion, always, of assassins in mid lane, because assassins rely too much on snowballing, and that's why you don't see them in pro play, because players are more careful. And if someone is more careful and you can create less chaos, you cannot snowball that easily. So the less you are relying on snowballing and on doing roams and stuff like that, and you can just farm up a little bit, and because they take so good use of gold, if you are actually farming well, you can do so much more damage. So I think that buff is actually so good on her. Sure, it's not crazy damage, like it's 10% increased damage, but it gets up to 24 increased damage in level 5. So maybe we can even see some W max, like second after his Q, after her Q. Um, 10 damage is not, and also that damage um, happens on your Q2. Like you amplify the damage of your Q2, and 20 damage is, as you know, it's around uh 700 gold. It's actually more because it's more than 20, but 700 gold, really nice buff. I think I think that maybe we will finally see some assassins, and assassins are so fun in pro play. Maybe in solo, but because you are against them, but in pro play, all this chaos and doing picks and outplays is really nice. And I hope we will see some Kiana finally on pro play, because people have not played here for so long. Ramos. Okay. Nerf for Ramos. I'm playable in higher play. Stops being that broken on lower play. It's 15 health. It's not the end of the world. Uh, it's not the biggest nerf ever, but it's gonna make his first clear weaker. Plus, um, farming to level 6 is not that good, so I think Ramos players will gank more and they will annoy you more. They're gonna be less tanky. And when I say they're gonna gank more, is because, first of all, you don't want a perma farm in jungle right now after the changes. And not only that, but your clear is gonna be less healthy. Yes, it's 15 health, but it's not the end of the world. Like at level 3, you are gonna have 30 less health. And 30 health is quite a lot, actually. And that's a difficulty that all tank junglers have. Really weak early game, they can get invaded easily. And, like, in my opinion, if you're against the Ramos, just pick anything that can invade, like um, Graves, a Warwick. Like, I mean, Ramos is sync playing mostly in low elo, so probably Graves is not the best idea, but things like the Warwick, the Olaf, maybe even Volibear, which is not that good, but he's fine in low elo. Anything Xin Zhao, anything that can just invade Udyr, which gets a nerf, but still, it's gonna be great jungler. Rell. Finally, a nerf on rell. She's too strong right now. She sees a lot of play, both in solo queue and in pro play. And when these two happen at the same time, something is going wrong. So they decrease her armor by 3. Okay, that's not crazy. Like, that's 90 gold, I think, nerf. And increase cooldown of your W and her W. Just W when she's mounted, and W when she's mounted, W when she's not mounted. Okay, I'm confused which is which, but this is the knock up. This is the one that you knock them back. Rel, basically, your window to punish Rel is after she uses her W and she misses it. Because if Rel misses her W, she cannot proc Aftershock. Because unless she does something like a flash C or something like that, she does not have any sort of CC, of hard CC, that can proc her Aftershock. So without Aftershock, she's squeezy. And I think you are gonna have more options to punish her in early game, which is her weakest point. I still think that if you let her play and she ends up scaling, because unlike most tank champions like Leona, for example, or Thresh, Rell is really different. While champions like Thresh and Leona have a really good early game, they are all about doing plays early, snowballing their team, doing some crazy roams. Rell does not have the power of a Leona in early game. Yes, I know there are memes comparing rell with Leona, but they are not like, okay, they are girls and they are tanks. This is where they their commons, the things in commons they got, and basically she's just a tank version of enchanters. Like enchanters most often are champions that are really good in later stages of the game. So she's actually a tank that is good in later stages of the game, you know, because she gives some really nice armor on her teammates. She has really good, like her ultimate is nothing crazy in early game. Like what's the point if, like, compare her ultimate with Leona ultimate. Leona ultimate stuns the enemy and it does damage and it's a stun, so you can't auto attack or anything. Rell just pulls the enemies to her. So you can actually flash out of that. You can actually run out of that. And she actually does not do damage. And you can actually just stay there and attack her. Yes, in later stages, and with good picks, like if you pair her with an Orianna, for example, that's crazy. Or if you pair her with an AD carry that has some nice AoE damage. Or, you know, sure, I don't think she's gonna be bad after the nerf. I just think she's gonna be still strong, not average, way above average, perhaps not OP. She's gonna be just really strong. Samira, well, in case you haven't checked my last patch review, you can go check it and you will see that I had said that after the nerf, next patch, we are gonna have a buff, and they're gonna buff her Q, and this is and her damage growth, and this is exactly the things they did. That's exactly the things they did. So yeah, I'm really happy I predicted that. It was obvious, like her W nerf and her ultimate nerfs were very welcomed, but her Q, like there's no reason. Like she's scary because her ultimate does not have cooldown, and because her W is so strong, and because her E can make her so safe. She's not scared because of the damage of her Q. That was a fine thing. And she was like unplayable after all these nerfs. I think Samira is gonna be fine right now. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna be broken. Like there were too many nerfs in last parts, but maybe she's even strong. We will see how that goes. Sejuani. Uh, Ratio increased, so more damage later stage of the game. It scales with maximum health, so that's 0.75 increase. Yes, it seems small, but it's not small. You're a tank, so if you have 2000 health, that's 0.75% of 2000 health, uh, which is 15 health, or I mean, not 15 health, it's a damage ratio, so it's 15 damage. It's good. It's not the most amazing thing, but I mean, Sejuani is weak right now. Uh, we see a lot of melee champions, I guess. I don't know. She's actually gonna be fine if she's paired with a good, like, if you're a jungler, Sejuani is actually one of the best champions to duo queue with a top laner that plays melees, like especially bully melees like Renekton or Darius, stuff like that. Like checking her win rate, because that's something you should always do. You check the win rates. So, for example, here Sejuani, Sejuani, as you can see here, does not have a bad win rate. She's just not that good. They're just better junglers. I think this buff will actually make her pretty fine. Let's check for last packs actually. So yeah, she was just other 50% because of the buff in jungling, because she wants to farm to level 6 and she gets her level 6 later. uh, because of the small decrease in experience in camps. So I think after the buff, we are gonna see Yankos playing Szechuan again. Sorry, Yankos. But yeah, I don't think it's still gonna be anything amazing in like I don't think tanks are ever gonna be that good on solo queue. Like even on tank metas, you have very specific junglers, and by that I mean Nunu dominating. But yeah, we're gonna see some Sejuani. Sejuani is actually a fun champion. I don't know why people do not like her. She has nice ganks. Uh, like I know people say that Sejuani wants to farm to level 6 and stuff like that, but her early ganks are not bad. They are not bad at all. And this is my favorite part of the patch. Seraphine nerf. They wanna kind of buff Seraphine in mid lane. They wanna nerf Seraphine as a support. So basically what they do is they decrease the damage of the nodes. So every time Seraphine uses an ability, you and your nearby allies get a node. And this node gives you extra range and some extra damage. So before that, you did reduced damage after your first node, right? Uh, what they changed and what's the difference now? Nodes from allies now only, okay, they do reduced damage. They do 1/4 of the damage. But your own nodes do more damage. So she's gonna be weaker as a support, stronger as a mid laner. Plus, they nerf her ultimate. So they nerf early game by 20 seconds and mid game by 10 seconds. Late game it's the same. Not that it really matters, like late game is not that amazing for Seraphine anyway. Here, mid game is the strongest point. This is much welcomed. I don't think that Seraphine mid lane is a bad pick. I know they buff it just because it's gonna be bad after, but I don't know, man. I think Seraphine is way too strong right now. Like, she actually loses some damage, but she's so strong right now that I don't think that she's gonna be bad. Like, she had something like some crazy win rates. I think she's still gonna be a pretty good support, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see even more nerfs in the future. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if she's still a fine pick and she's still gonna be extremely fine for pro play. Because I think actually after this change, we're gonna see her a lot more as a flex pick. She was already picked as a support a lot of times, sometimes together with Fasting Senna, and she was already picked in mid lane. I think she was picked more than support. And to be honest with you, I think she's not. I think she's actually better in mid lane right now. Her early game is better than before. Yeah, I she's gonna be A tier for sure. Nothing below that, and probably like I couldn't be like surprised if she's low S tier after the nerf. Shaco, finally, man. Like after 1 year, I ask the same thing every patch. Nerf Shaco support. Shaco support is too strong, but he does not see a lot of play. Especially on some servers, he does not see any play at all. So Riot did not really care. Shaco is way too strong as a support. Has nice poke, scales really well. Sure, her early game his early game is not good. He does not offer a lot of peel, but late game you do so much damage. You can do so many tricks. They nerf Shaco support. I think after this change, if you're a Shaco one trick, he's gonna be fine. You just lose around. Well, his base damage is gonna reduced by 10. His single target base damage is gonna reduced by sorry, by 5, and this is gonna reduce by 10. Uh, I think you can still see him as a support. He's not gonna be broken anymore. I mean, he wasn't really broken before. Stuff like Thresh, Seraphine, Rell are way better. But he was a fine pick, especially in solo queue. He was fine if you actually knew what you were doing. Uh, what's really interesting is that Jax in the box now deals an additional 10 to 50 damage to monsters. I think, like, in on that's gonna make his clears better. Sure, you are not gonna do increased damage on single target camps like red buff and gromp and blue buff, but you're gonna do more damage on raptors, more damage on krags, uh, more damage on wolves, and less damage on scout. Actually, it's the same damage on single target because it's lose 10, get 10. Uh, and get 10. I think that this is gonna make his clears a little faster. And I mean, if I'm not wrong, he's not actually that weak right now. If like support, in case you don't believe me, yeah, insane win rate. Actually, that's jungle. Support is as good as jungle. I don't know. He's fine as a jungler right now. Yeah, he's totally fine to be honest. Like as I said, I don't think he's any bad. He has fine builds. Uh, he has a stride breaker build, which we don't see a lot. And I may explain it in the future, but yeah, you can go for stride breaker, you can go for lethality, you can go for either taskblade or eclipse or prowess claw, or maybe even critical with a gale force. I think Shaco jungle after that is gonna be even better and is gonna dominate mid to high elo. Um, Obviously, you need to be a really good Shaco players, but I think really good Shaco players are gonna make so much fear on the enemies. I don't think this will make us see him in pro play, but man, he's gonna be so good on solo queue. Like if you main him, of course. If you don't main him, he's gonna be yeah. Straddle, just a small decrease in his Q. We may see him as an answer tanks. I think he's gonna be a fine answer, both in top lane and in mid lane to tanks. That's it. Take a little bit. So as you can see, his win rate on jungle is 49%. On top lane, 49.5. So the buff is just gonna make him around 50, maybe a little more. Yeah, he's gonna be fine to be honest. It's not crazy. 0.5 seconds. I mean, that can mean an extra Q over the long run during a long fight. One extra Q, 2 extra Qs actually. Like if the fight is long, like you can even get 2 extra Qs. I think he's mostly an answer to tanks. He's gonna be a really good answer to Sion. But I don't think he's gonna be broken or anything. I think he's gonna be fine pick. And yeah. Tweets adjustment, I waited for that a lot of time. And that's because basically Riot buffed Tweets AP, which by the way, I love it. And you saw a lot of people playing AP Tweets. And then people stop playing AD carry tweets and they played APC tweets. So even as an AD carry, they were buying door answering and going for an AP. Like my last games that had tweets, all of them was AP tweets. So they slightly decreased the damage of his passive and they increased bonus damage of his R and the duration by 1 second. That's not a nerf at all, and I'm gonna explain why. Because even as an AP tweets, you're gonna buy things like Berserker Greaves and you're gonna buy Nashor Tooth, and you're gonna have attack speed. So bonus damage, yeah, okay, is gonna be better on AD tweets because you get critical and you get more AD, so that this can critical. So sure, but I don't think that's a nerf for tweets at all. It's just an adjustment so that more people will play him as an AD. Udyr, I was saying that from last patch, we had to see Udyr being played on top on breaking pro play and getting banned of pro play. I don't believe we're living that universe. Uh, in order for Riot to nerf Udyr, which it was the most broken, in my opinion, champion of last two patches, maybe more. Uh, Health growth decreased, Phoenix stance damage decrease. So Phoenix was his actual strong card. People weren't really going for Tiger anymore. You just get 1 point in Tiger for a better clear and for some attack speed, and that was it. I still think he's gonna be really, really good. Upper A tier, like A plus tier on jungle in lower relos. Perhaps together with the nerf in jungle, we are not gonna see him in pro play. But if you're silver, gold, perhaps even low platinum, I don't think there's a reason to stop playing him. Perhaps you could look for something else, maybe a Hecarim, which in my opinion, especially on higher ranks, is better. But by any means, do I think he's gonna be weak? I mean, maybe A plus is too much for him, but he's gonna be like on the top 10 junglers, 15, even in higher elos. I don't know what will happen with pro play, because you should not forget that there's also a nerf in jungle, which affects all the junglers, especially the farming junglers. And what's really important is that he loses damage, and the damage means that his clear is gonna be less fast. So his clear speed is gonna be higher. So he will need more time to get to scuttle. So that actually, so when you see this damage and when you see damage on junglers, you should not think them as, is this more damage and that can help me get a kill? The reason this damage was really strong on Udyr is because you can clear all 6 camps before 315 and be at scuttle when it spawns. So if you have slightly slower clear, that means there are gonna be more answers from the enemy jungle. Viego, okay, whatever. Moramana, okay, that's Moramana heavily overlaps Essence River. That's true, if I'm not wrong. Not many champions actually build Moramana. You see Jace, you see Ezreal. That's it. Maybe something else, but so basic attacks before did 2 point basic abilities before and attacks did 2.5 of max mana. Now it is 1.5 of max mana on basic attacks, but it's more on spells. And if it's a melee ability, which if I'm not wrong is just empower abilities. I may be wrong, but I think I'm not sure what counts as a melee ability. If it's something more like, I know, for example, that uh, at Nash's Q or Jack's W and stuff like that are melee abilities. I really want to see more Amano on stuff like Nasus or Jax. I think it's really good. I don't know why we don't see it. Uh, in my opinion, it's a small nerf. Also deals 6% of totality as bonus damage against champions. Uh, okay, okay. It's not actually a nerf. I just think that it's gonna be better on champions that have empowered abilities. I expect to see it being played on Nasus, on Jax. If that's another thing you wanna see, I will leave a comment down below. I will say all the things I can try out. Because maybe not all of you have get so far in the video. If you have, congratulations, you're an excellent viewer. But yeah, so yeah, that's another pick of I'm thinking of playing, like more a man on some melee champion. Stridebreaker. Okay, so less damage, uh, less damage, less low, more range, and a little faster. I like that. The first thing I noticed on Stridebreaker when it came out, it was that the dash had such a small range. It was 200 range, which I think it made it the smallest dash in the game or something like that. And sure, you stick to the enemies, but in my opinion, Stridebreaker should be more of I'm gonna gap close, not I'm gonna slow you and help all my teammates. Because the slow, it was an AoE slow, you could do it on multiple people, and not only could you reach them easier, but so could your team because you slow them. So I Riot says that they don't want to have it as a nerf. In my opinion, it's a small nerf. It's not a nerf uh, if you're solo, but in team fights, it's gonna be a nerf. Uh, like even if these two counters each other, the damage, yeah, is less. So I don't like that we see stride breakers on certain champions like Atrox. I've seen Atrox getting stride breaker, and that's the really annoying circle of buffs and of nerfs. First Gordringer was OP, so everyone built Gordringer. Now Stridebreaker is the next good thing after Gordringer, so everyone is gonna build Stridebreaker. And I don't like that. I want champions to build items because you have a certain playstyle. Ginzo, Ginzo's Rage Blade, that's a nerf for Senna. Basically, Senna had a build that you went for Ginzo's, and because you have more than 100% critical strike chains because of your passive, uh, the extra critical was also getting into uh, on-hit damage. So after 100% critical strike chains, your critical strike is gonna get lifesteal as normal. So I think we're gonna see again the build that, in my opinion, is the best on Senna. We don't see it a lot. Not many people take it. It's the Divine Sunderer build. It's the Divine Sunderer build. Uh, I think Divine Sunderer, even Duskblade, are actually better than Kraken Slayer. Divine Sunderer is really good against uh, tank supports, and to be honest, in my opinion, attack speed feels so wrong on Senna, and I'm happy that there's a nerf on that. We're still gonna see some Senna, and that's sad because especially in lower elo, people do not adapt that fast. So you're gonna lose some games because people will still pick Senna, but which by the way wasn't even that good AD carry before in lower elos. But anyway, I think maybe this will take, like, if people start getting Divine Sunderer, I think Senna can easily stay in the meta. If they continue trying to build Kraken Slayer with Kinsus, sorry guys, it's gonna get out, but it's not gonna be weak. It's gonna be weak because people will not take freaking Divine Sunderer build, which is so, so, so strong. Serpent Fang, TLDR, it's a buff for it. I like it. It says dealing damage to an enemy champion reduces any shields they gain by 50% for melee champions and 25 for ranged champions for the next 3 seconds. When you damage an enemy who is unaffected by Shield River, reduce all shields on them by 50%. Okay. So basically, before you did extra damage to the shields, but it was just you. Now you reduce the shields, which means it also offers some really nice utility to your team. So you're not you're not going to be anymore a selfish assassin player, a selfish Zed that just wants to one-shot the enemy Zana. Gonna be a Zed that is going to one-shot the enemy Zana or the enemy AD carry that is getting sealed by Zana, while at the same time you're gonna offer more damage to your AD carry. I think Serpent's Fang is gonna be built more on Senna, maybe even Pike, mostly Senna. I think we're gonna see more Senna against enchanters. Really good buff. I think this item will start finally sync playing because it was so bad. I think right now it's actually way better. Moth Malmortius, I agree. No one picked Moth of Malmortius before. 300 gold decrease in cost. Basically, everyone was taking the component of it. It was all you needed, and basically it was just a nerf. Like, if you had it made your it made it so that it's a bad item to be completed. I think with the chains, it's gonna be way more cost efficient. So if you check it out, and by the way, League of Legends Wiki has all these things already, so you don't need to calculate every time. So as you see, Movement Mortius, like with the changes, is 180% gold efficient. That's great. That's 350 gold value. Before, if you remember, it was 3,100 gold. So it wasn't gold efficient. And basically, the idea is you pick it because of the passive. Now you have a really good passive and it's gold effective. So I think that you can actually take as normal your Hex Stringer, go into your lethality item, and perhaps your second lethality item, and as a third item you can actually complete it, and it's not going to be a bad item if you're against heavy AP teams. Still, I don't think it's gonna be completed too early, but uh, I like that a magic resistance item is getting buffed because magic resistance is not that strong right now, and I think AP champions are in general better than AD champions, and I think that's a really nice nerf slash buff to AD or AP, whatever you wanna see it as. Champions. Black Liver. Total gold reduced by 200. Health increased by 100. Black Liver no longer deals bonus physical damage. Dealing physical damage to a champion grants 5 movement speed per stack of crave on them for 2 seconds. So that means that you're gonna have back the movement speed from Black Liver of last season. You no longer deal bonus damage. I like this gold. I think Black Liver is gonna see way more play. Like right now, you don't see a lot of Black Liver because if you want damage, like armor reduction, stuff like that, if you want to deal with tanks, you can just pick Divine Sunderer or Eclipse or, Leandris if you're AP champion. I mean, obviously that's not for AP champions, but you can pick stuff like, yeah, Divine Sunderer and Eclipse on or Assassin champions. And 100 health, that's pretty good. Like 100 health is okay. I calculate it's 37 gold plus some nice gold. Because you're gonna be able to get it earlier. I think we will see it being built on all the champions that used to build it, especially Juggernauts that really like this movement speed. I think Black Cleaver with, let's say, Strike Breaker and going for stuff like Denmas Blade and Force of Nature is gonna make like Darius and Ilaoi and all these Juggernauts so strong. And that was it, guys. Some nice skins. I hope you enjoy it. Leave down in the comments what of these champion ideas, builds you would like me to test out. I will have a list down below. And yeah, my name is Theorycrafter, and if you like this video, leave a like, and I'll see you on the next time.